The Mexican-American War, 1846 to 1848, a comprehensive examination. Scott's invasion of central Mexico, 1847, the decisive campaign. The year 1847 marked the turning point in the Mexican-American War with General Winfield Scott's audacious invasion of central Mexico. This meticulously planned campaign would become one of the most brilliant military operations in U.S. history, demonstrating unprecedented strategic coordination between land and naval forces, while showcasing the emerging professionalism of the American military. The Veracruz landing, gateway to Mexico City. The strategic planning for the Veracruz operation began in late 1846, when President Polk and his war cabinet recognized that northern campaigns alone wouldn't force Mexican surrender. Veracruz was selected as the invasion point for several critical reasons. It was Mexico's primary Atlantic port and the closest coastal access point to Mexico City. The city's capture would sever Mexican supply lines from European allies. Its coastal location allowed for naval support and supply. On March 9, 1847, Scott executed the first large-scale amphibious assault in U.S. military history. A fleet of 65 specially designed surf boats landed 10,000 troops at Colado Beach, about 3 miles south of Veracruz, in a single day. This remarkable feat was accomplished without a single casualty, a testament to Scott's meticulous planning and the Navy's growing expertise in amphibious operations. The landing force included 4 brigades of regular infantry, 3 artillery battalions, dragoon regiments, volunteer units from several states. Mexican General Juan Morales, commanding about 4,300 troops in Veracruz, chose not to contest the landing directly, instead concentrating his forces in the city's formidable defenses. The walled city was protected by the massive San Juan de Ulua fortress, containing 135 heavy guns and considered impregnable by many contemporary observers. The Siege of Veracruz, March 22 to 29, 1847. Scott established siege lines encircling the city while the Navy maintained a tight blockade. On March 22, after Mexican authorities refused surrender demands, Scott ordered the bombardment to commence. The Americans employed 6 10-inch mortars, 3 8-inch howitzers, numerous field guns, naval guns from the squadron under Commodore Matthew Perry. The bombardment was devastating. Over 1,300 shells rained on the city in the first 24 hours alone. Civilian casualties mounted as the medieval walls proved inadequate against modern artillery. After 6 days of relentless shelling, with food and water supplies dwindling and no relief force in sight, Veracruz surrendered on March 29th. The fall of Veracruz was significant because, 1. It gave the Americans a secure supply base. 2. It demonstrated U.S. military technological superiority. 3. It shattered Mexican morale while boosting American confidence. The march inland, overcoming geography and disease. With Veracruz secured, Scott faced the daunting challenge of moving his army inland toward Mexico City, some 260 miles to the west. The route presented multiple obstacles. The yellow fever season was approaching in the coastal lowlands. The national road, El Camino Real, passed through several defensible mountain passes. Mexican forces were regrouping under the command of Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna. Scott made several crucial decisions that would prove vital to the campaign's success. 1. He left only a small garrison at Veracruz to maximize his mobile force. 2. He established strict sanitation protocols to minimize disease. 3. He cultivated relationships with local Mexican leaders to secure supplies. The Battle of Cerro Gordo, April 18, 1847. Santa Anna positioned 12,000 troops in a seemingly impregnable position at Cerro Gordo, where the national road passed through a narrow mountain pass. The Mexican defenses included artillery batteries covering the road, fortified positions on the heights, trenches, and earthworks. Captain Robert E. Lee's reconnaissance discovered a potential path around the Mexican left flank. Scott capitalized on this intelligence by sending a division under General David Twiggs to outflank the position, coordinating a frontal assault to fix Mexican forces, positioning artillery on captured high ground. The battle was a complete American victory. Mexican casualties, 1,000 plus killed, wounded, 3,000 captured. American casualties, 63 killed, 337 wounded, capture of Santa Anna's personal carriage and wooden leg, which became war trophies. The victory at Cerro Gordo opened the road to the Mexican highlands and demonstrated the effectiveness of Scott's combined arms approach, blending infantry, artillery, and engineering capabilities. The occupation of Puebla, May 15, 1847. Following Cerro Gordo, Scott's army advanced to Puebla, Mexico's second-largest city. Several factors made this a critical juncture. The final approach to Mexico City, August 1847. In early August, reinforced to about 10,800 effectives, Scott resumed the advance. The last 80 miles to Mexico City presented formidable natural and man-made defenses, lakes and marshes surrounding the city, fortified positions at Contreras, Churubusco, and Chapultepec. An estimated 20,000 Mexican defenders under Santa Anna. The battles for Mexico City would become some of the most intense of the war, testing the skill and endurance of both armies while shaping the future leadership of the United States through the combat experience gained by junior officers who would later become Civil War generals. The Mexican-American War, 1846 to 1848, a comprehensive examination of its legacy. Chapter 5, Legacy of the War, Transformations and Consequences. The Mexican-American War's conclusion in 1848 marked not an end but a beginning, a catalyst that would transform both nations politically, socially, and geographically. The Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo's ink had barely dried before its ramifications began unfolding in ways few contemporaries could have predicted. This chapter examines the war's profound and lasting impacts through three critical lenses: its effects on the United States, its consequences for Mexico, and its military legacy that would shape the coming American Civil War. 5.1 Impact on the United States. Expansion at a cost. The California Gold Rush, 1848 to 1855, and westward transformation. The timing of gold discoveries in newly acquired California proved historically momentous. Just 9 days before the treaty's signing, James W. Marshall found gold at Sutter's Mill on January 24, 1848. The subsequent rush transformed America in multiple dimensions. Demographic revolution. California's population exploded from 14,000, 1848, to 223,000, 1852. San Francisco grew from 200 residents to 36,000 in 3 years. International migration brought 25,000 French, 20,000 Chinese, and thousands more from Europe and South America. Economic impacts. $2 billion in gold extracted by 1857, approximately $75 billion today. Creation of new financial institutions like Wells Fargo, 1852, stimulated transcontinental railroad plans, agricultural boom to support mining communities, political consequences, accelerated California's statehood, 1850. Intensified sectional tensions over slavery in new territories led to the Land Act of 1851 that dispossessed many Mexican landowners, sectional divisions, and the road to civil war. The new territories became battlegrounds for slavery debates. The Wilmot Proviso, 1846-47, failed congressional attempt to ban slavery in acquired territories, revealed growing North-South divide within both major parties. The Compromise of 1850, California admitted as free state, Fugitive Slave Act strengthened, popular sovereignty in Utah, the New Mexico territories, only delayed inevitable conflict, Kansas-Nebraska Act, 1854, repealed Missouri Compromise, led to Bleeding Kansas violence, destroyed Whig Party, gave rise to Republicans, 5.2 impact on Mexico, national trauma and resilience, territorial and demographic consequences. Mexico lost 55% of pre-war territory, 1.36 million square kilometers, strategic Pacific coastline, mineral-rich regions, including later discovered silver deposits, an estimated 100,000 Mexican citizens now under U.S. jurisdiction, the treaty's unfulfilled promises, Article 9 guaranteed citizenship rights, often ignored, property rights protections frequently violated, linguistic and cultural discrimination emerged. Political aftermath. The war's humiliation accelerated Mexico's political evolution. Santa Anna's final overthrow, 1855. La Reforma period, 1855 to 76. Under Benito Juarez, new nationalism emphasizing indigenous identity, strengthened anti-American sentiment influencing French intervention, 1861 to 67. Porfirio Diaz's policies, 1876 to 1911. 20th century resource nationalism. Economic consequences. Loss of agricultural lands and ports. Disruption of trading patterns. Delayed industrialization compared to U.S. Increased reliance on European powers. 5.3 military legacy. Forging Civil War commanders. Professionalization of the U.S. Army. The war served as a practical academy for junior officers. West Point graduates proved their worth, demonstrated effectiveness of light artillery, flying batteries, combined arms coordination, amphibious operations. Army expanded from 8,000 to 32,000 during war. The future general's crucible. Notable participants and their war experiences. Robert E. Lee distinguished himself at Veracruz and Cerro Gordo, conducted crucial reconnaissance missions, learned the value of defensive positions. Ulysses S. Grant fought at Palo Alto, Resaca de la Palma, Monterrey, observed Taylor's leadership style, later wrote, "The Mexican War was the most unjust ever waged." Thomas Stonewall Jackson, artillery lieutenant at Chapultepec, first combat experience under fire, developed aggressive tactical mindset. William Tecumseh. Sherman, stationed in California, witnessed gold rush chaos, developed views on civilian-military relations, tactical and technological innovations. First large-scale use of steam-powered naval support, precision artillery bombardments, mobile siege tactics, improved medical practices, though still primitive, development of professional quartermaster corps, the Mexican Army's lessons, revealed weaknesses in officer training, logistics systems, political-military relations, inspired later reforms under Diaz, created enduring military distrust of U.S. intentions. Long-term strategic consequences. For the United States, established doctrine of hemispheric dominance, created logistical models for future wars, revealed need for permanent military schools. For Mexico, forced reevaluation of national defense, inspired professionalization efforts, created lasting trauma in military psyche. Conclusion: a war that never ended. The Mexican-American War's legacy continues evolving. Ongoing debates over historical memory, borderland identities, reparations claims, cultural influences in literature, Cormac McCarthy, Carlos Fuentes, film, The Wild Bunch, Lone Star, political discourse. The conflict's true conclusion may still be unwritten as its consequences continue shaping North American society, politics, and cross-border relations nearly 2 centuries later. The war not only redrew maps but fundamentally transformed how both nations viewed themselves and each other. A transformation whose full implications we are still working to understand today.